Welcome back to the Flickering Torch podcast. This is Mr. Dead Scott.
And Smites.
And again, we'd like to thank our one loyal fan. Although I've been looking around, we actually have more people viewing, but one of you subscribed. So again, we don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
We appreciate it, though. I think.
I just create alternative accounts to make myself feel better.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's your fault.
Oh, yeah, like all 12 of them.
Crap.
Even though we have like 3.
That's been like my biggest running joke is we have one fan.
Well, I am. My own fan.
Which version of you?
Good point. The doctors are still trying to figure it out.
Happy times.
So, besides our awkward and weirdness, today we are talking about horror games and what they are, how they came to be, such and such, our fears, the whole spiel.
Hear that?
No.
You didn't hear that?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
No. You didn't hear
Never turn around.
But it's right behind you.
Nope. If it's not there, if I pretend it's not there, it's not there.
It looks like it wants to cuddle.
Yeah, your face.
With teeth,
And lay eggs in you. Like alien,
You always said you wanted to be a mother.
I don't think, A, it's impossible. 2, never.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wait, impossible or never?
Both.
Oh. I have failed anatomy then.
Yeah.
I don't know how I passed that section. Details.
Yeah, well, you only deal with them.
We're not revealing what I do, even though people probably figure it out.
That's why I stopped. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, we're not revealing what I do for a living. Anyway, horror games. Ooh, fun. I absolutely love horror games. A horror game. So let's go with what are they? Like my explanation, your explanation, the reality of them, and we'll kind of break it down from there. So horror games. A horror game is something simply more or less where like your character, whether that's you as a first-person mode or some character you're playing, gets thrown into a hellish scape of one form or another. Whether that's you're the hero, you're just a part of it, or you're that poor fucker who gets sacrificed at the end. Sorry. A horror game is basically designed to scare you, designed to spook you a little bit, designed to either make you think, scare the crap out of you, like literally scare the crap out of you, where it's better off just playing on the toilet or with a catheter or a colostomy, or one that
just don't eat. And it saves all the time.
Yeah, just don't eat. That works too. Yeah. Except you'll die.
At least for a day, it just avoids cleanup.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Best practices, different video.
Or oh god, or the type of game where you're kind of a hero, and it's your job to defeat these, quote, demons, quote unquote. So that's kind of my take on what a horror game is. Now, it varies, of course, but...
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of variety, but lack thereof, but that's a later topic. My explanation is similar. It's the main individual who is thrown into a shitty situation, dark themed, of course, otherwise it wouldn't be scary. It was all bright and rainbows. Well, I guess that could be kind of horror.
That can be scary to some people.
But you're thrown into these events that you can't control, and usually the task is daunting. A lot of horror games good horror games don't give you much background, so you have to piece it out. Others do and can successfully make a horror game, but most of the time you're just thrown into a situation you can't control. And then the game really branches off until the different categories, but that's basically my explanation. It's just you have this crappy task, it's really dark, things are like daunting, just overwhelming, and they're fucking creepy. To put it nicely.
Which is kind of funny because you've mentioned to me numerous times you don't like these games, you don't like to play them, you don't like to really...
I mean, I like them, but I hate them. The thing is, I can never bring myself to play them. But I do like them when I am. Because I don't know why. I just don't like what I can't control. And if it's jump scares and things like that, I don't know what to expect. Kind of I understand, stories, you never know what to expect. But horror games are just meant to freak you out. And if you don't, you never know what to expect. And I don't like crap in my pants.
Well, that's the funny thing too, because I absolutely love these types of games. I like the anticipation of what's behind that corner, or I know that door is going to do something to me, good, bad, indifferent, or scare the crap out of me.
Yeah.
But I know I have to open it to progress, and I really want to know what the hell is going on, or at least get a slight fucking clue of what's going on. Yeah. So here we go into the descent, but it's so funny.
That's what I like. Though. Like I like to know the story of why this individual ended up in such a shitty situation. What the fuck's going on? But at the same time, I don't want to go from A to B. Just give me the story, because it's freaky.
You just want to sit there with your blankie, and have the lines fed to you on what's going on and why.
Uh-huh.
And
like, oh, that'd make a great
on.
story. Yeah, I just skip all the scariness. Yeah. Be perfect. But
okay, so let's talk I guess like subcultures of horror games, because horror games are kind of broken into two main categories, and then there's a third category you brought up I didn't think about. Yes. That's kind of a good little explanation. So let's go into the two big ones first. So everybody's probably pretty darn familiar with the survival horror aspect, and so I like to call it like a real horror scenario, where like you are literally just you, someone who probably doesn't have a lot of experience in scary situations, and if you do, I don't know how you sleep, I'm sorry. Yeah.
What did you do in your life?
And you get and you get kind of thrown into this warped world or hellish scenario or something not great. And as in a real horror scenario, you probably don't have access to like a lot of medical equipment or weapons. Probably a makeshift weapon at best that, hey, look, this baseball bat feels pretty comfy. Like, I think I can use this to defend myself. Yeah. And then you find out everything's wearing armor. Or like limited ammunition if you actually get a gun, if you can find one.
Yeah.
This is pretty much kind of the limited, oh dear sweet God, this thing is huge and I'm going to die kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Survival horrors are kind of fun. Or actually, they're really fun to me.
I prefer them over the other type of horror just because gameplay mechanic wise, there's enough there to do, but also limited enough to scare you and freak you out through the game. I think it's probably either the first or second tier of scariness out of the three categories. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of, the Resident Evil, back to the original ones where you're limited ammo, you didn't know what the hell is going on necessarily, and you had very limited health. It was easy to die, and shit was just going wrong every corner, and then you hit like Nemesis fucking breaking through the walls. And you're like, oh my god.
We'll get into that, don't worry.
And you're just limited so much, but there is so much chaos going on. And you don't know what to expect, and you can't control those situations. So I like survival horror a lot. And plus, there's not a lot of mechanics you have to worry about besides running away. I mean, there's always a runaway button.
Yeah, not really a lot of necessarily complex kind of mechanics you have to throw into. Whereas like an action horror game, which is the next kind of big subgenre we'll kind of talk about, where that's where you're the hero. You're the guy who's sent to, I'm the cleaner. I've done this before. I've been hunting witches for 60 plus years. Well, 600, but don't tell anybody.
I'm a chupacabra hunter.
Yeah. And so you get kind of thrown into those scenarios where you're designed to kill everything. There's a slew of weapons. There's a fair amount of ammo around. There's a fair amount of healing supplies, if not a lot, depending on the difficulty setting, I would argue.
Yeah.
And it's your job to, quote, save the day. Which, they're fun. I'm not going to argue that. They can be scary.
They can be, yeah.
You can definitely have scenarios where, like, in between the action, you may have, like, one moment where something spooky does happen to you. Like something pops out of a room you didn't expect.
Yeah.
Or like an air vent, because air vents, for some reason, are absolutely terrifying in the gaming world.
Why are they so big to fit creatures, man?
Why am I so small to fit in them is my question.
Yeah. It's true.
That's my fear.
Yeah. So, like, that is, to me, action horror is the least scary because you're given so many weapons, ammo, health supply, like, there's nothing you can't deal with face to face, or at least there's not many things you can't deal with, but later on you end up just killing or destroying,
whatever,
or it becomes irrelevant. Yeah. So it's like if you have the means at your disposal, the scariness drops away significantly. There doesn't mean there's not scary aspects to it, because I mean, some of like people's imagination and designs of characters, and some people know how to get some psychological horror in there, but it's short-lived because you have the means to deal with such. So.
Right. And that kind of goes into that last topic you had mentioned to me that I didn't even think about, is the psychological horror game. And they do exist. They're not very prevalent because they're usually, as you put, bled into other games.
Yeah. There's a lot of psychological aspects within the other two categories, but there are just psychological horror games in general, which basically nothing. I mean, it depends on the game, of course, but most psychological games are indie games. College projects or small development studios, nothing AAA, but basically to really kind of get the psychological horror without getting old to it, they're short games, so that's probably why they're not big published. But nothing really happens. It's a lot of buildup of your own fright. It just you just
kind of experience it.
You just experience, it sets it up so it kind of freaks you out and it makes you not want to continue, or you scare yourself I don't want to go down that basement. After that fool just said something,
it'll be fine.
You basically a lot of them you have no control. You were showing the Satan's Ending or whatever that one was.
Oh, Sad Satan?
Yeah, Sad Satan. There you go. You have no control over anything. You just move forward and back, right?
More or less. And I've never played Sad Satan. I just watched videos on it. But you just kind of experience what's going on, but a lot of it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I only say that again because I haven't played it. Kotaku did an article on it back in 2015, I think. And it was interesting, and it was kind of psychological. The one you were talking about where it's based on the concept of a house as a human body.
Yeah, anatomy.
That sounded interesting.
Yeah, so that one, your limited controls, you walk around or run when you're scared. But basically you go into a house, or you start out in a house, and it's dark, you have limited vision, so it's kind of spooky, but you're like, okay, well, I'm walking around, nothing's jumped out and scared me. You go and collect cassette tapes that explains how a house is compared to the anatomy of a human body, which you're like, oh wow, that revelation, that actually makes sense as to the compartments of a house. And then the game, the way the game describes it and the tone and voice, it kind of makes you freaked out. I'm not going down to the next section. And then the game just automatically quits, and you restart it, and the house is slightly different, but things are out of place, and the recordings play back all super trippy and weird, and then you just kind of get more scared. It's a buildup of just freaking out, but actually nothing literally happens in the game to scare you. Or no jump outs, no scares, no guns, no nothing. It just freaks your mind out because your mind goes to weird places, so that's psychological horror. I mean, there's different types, but they tend to be
kind of mixed in with survival horror,
and
maybe a little bit with action, depending on the style of action horror.
Yeah,
and action horror too. And we'll break down each of these a little bit further. We're just kind of talking about them now. It's kind of hard to describe because you could argue that survival horror could be action horror because there is action that takes place. However, I'm referring to action horror as again being the hero and having at least 5 to 6 weapons at your disposal, or killing devices, and then kind of going to town from there. It's
kind of your action horror is more like you're prepared. This is your day job.
Yeah,
like Doom. It's you were bred for this, basically.
I'm a space marine. I got a power armor, and I got this big gun, and I'm going to kill some shit. And you wreck shit.
No, man, I'm going to kill them creature.
Oh, man. There goes that population.
Yeah.
For our fan base.
They don't have internet. Don't worry.
I don't think they listen to us.
But, I mean, that's you're right, though. That's you're the hero. You're expecting this situation.
Or something like
you're
this.
You're going there to control it. Even though things might be pop up and weird, you're still kind of in control. You know what to do. Ish, yeah. Whereas the survival horror, it's just kind of oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit,
ish,
all the time. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw a third one in.
Yeah, no, but no, that's perfect actually because it is ish. Every game's different.
Yeah. So let's break it down a little bit further here. So let's start with survival horror. Examples of early survival horror or survival horror in general I like to throw out there would be like the early Resident Evil games, and I mean like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I haven't played 7 yet. I swear to God it's on my list, and when I finish it, I will talk about it to no end. Hopefully I can get Smite to watch with me, because it'll be fun to watch him crap his pants.
I'm going to say it's your couch covers.
No, you're wearing a diaper.
My son's won't fit.
We'll get you a adult one, don't worry. Or a catheter, your choice.
Depends. Give us free stuff.
Do we really want that?
It's product placement.
Touche.
Yeah.
We didn't get paid for that, by the way.
Yeah, no.
So you got the early Resident Evil games, 1, 2, 3. Those were still classified as survival horror because you were screwed most of that game.
Yep. Limited ammo, limited inventory space, which is great. Forgot to bring that up.
We'll get to that. And so Silent Hill games, those were, I'd argue most, if not all of them, are survival horror in one form or another. Never played this, but Outlast, which those of you who had played, I hear it's freaking phenomenal, and it's on my list to get to, when I get around to it. And then Alien Isolation, again, never played, watched a lot of videos, also survival horror, where that alien is actually trying to hunt you, which I thought was a cool premise because it's smart. It is stupid smart.
It was bred for extreme hunting.
It was bred to destroy you. So that's kind of a cool concept. So survival horror, you have those examples of games, and each and one of those, of course, they have their own mechanics, their own style, their own playthrough, but they're all pretty similar. You have limited things, and I just mean things in general, limited crap. Stuff is hard to kill, or should be hard to kill in the beginning. Because so here's an example. I remember playing the first Silent Hill game with my buddy, and it was creepy as shit. Even as crappy as it was for graphics, creepy as shit. I remember that first part, we're in Silent Hill and we're walking down, and we hear that kind of weird crying thing from the alleyway, and we go and explore it, and all of a sudden kind of it gets dark and starts to rain, and like I pull out my lighter to kind of see what's going on, and then out of the blue, like, these weird little baby things with knives jump out and try to stab us, and scared the crap out of me, because you turn around, all of a sudden you see what's happening to you, and it's fucking terrifying on kind of the concept. And so that was spooky as shit. And so there's good examples of that. Of course, there's, survival horror is supposed to be more story-driven. There's a reason and a purpose, which I think is awesome.
Well, survival horror more is pieced together than given to you kind of thing. Like, the Resident Evil earlier games are great examples. You have no idea why you freaking crash your car. You don't know the controls. You have limited ammo.
No, clearly you're drunk. That's the only reason. I mean, that's why we do this, right? For drinking?
Yeah. So, So, like, you get into the mansion. It's freaking creepy as hell. You don't know what's going on. It has this eerie, it's dark. Where the hell is everyone? And then you go down and there's these things that just keep eating your damn ammo, and you're like, what's going on? And they like bite you, and you're like, get them on,
stop it.
And it's just like, well, this is creepy. Well, what is going on with the world? And even the character is like, what the fuck? You have no idea. And then you learn throughout the game
kind of what happens.
But it's totally pieced together, and your inventory's still shit towards the end.
Which is funny because like you and I were talking about this before we started, was like, a survival horror game is one of the few games I will go back and try to find the lore on. Like, I will actively go into a room that I know will probably kill me to get that shred of paper that says, smile. Smile for what? What's going on here? But it connects to another page that was ripped off or something.
Well, I mean, it's because they don't give you everything. Like, action horror is typically like, like in the Doom example.
You know what's going on.
Yeah, it kind of explains to you. You're like, oh, yeah, you're hell spotted dude, you just kill all the demons and stuff, and you get more pieces through, but basically there's a backstory already set for you. Whereas survival horror, a lot of them is just like, nope, you're here, you're screwed, good luck. Oh, here's 4 slots of inventory, and 3 of them are filled with just junk or puzzle pieces. You're like, what fucking puzzle pieces take up so much space.
Why do I need 6 cranks? Can't I just use 2?
Oh, actually, a good one. But this is, I get. I'll bring it up later because
don't forget it.
I won't. But it's a hybrid.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so survival horror, as well as we were mentioning about the lore, it does reward you, which is kind of cool for exploring a little bit.
Extra puzzles in Resident Evil, and you get like extra ammo and shotguns or like grenade launcher. It's like, oh my god, a grenade launcher! I could totally. oh, it bounces off this giant boss fucking things.
Well, I remember that with when I was playing The Evil Within. Like, I never finished it, which is sad because I do want to finish it eventually. When you explored the area around you, even if it meant being like alerted by the creatures or monsters, like you got the potential for ammo, you got the potential for healing supplies, or the much needed upgrading currency.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. And so it kind of wanted you to explore a little bit. So most survival horror games want you to explore. They want you to dive deep into this story and really immerse yourself in it, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's so good because it scares the piss out of you in the process.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's a design for a reason. Usually there's non-survival games or action games, there's not a lot of just made content to waste your time. It's usually there for a reason, either benefit or to scare you or something like that. It's usually tone, for the style of the game. Like survival horror, extra ammo. You're like, oh, I wasted 2 bullets to get here, but oh, here's a new weapon or something. But the puzzle pieces, I think like that, finding those extra puzzles and stuff. I mean, who puts a damn puzzle in the middle of their mansion to get through a bloody door?
A very, very bored millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't get, for one, how the pieces are missing in the first place, and all these goddamn zombies have them in Resident Evil, and all the bosses and stuff. But it's cool that the puzzles are there because it makes you want to get through that door, whether it's
to the bathroom.
Yeah, the bathroom to save, yeah. Whether it's, like extra loot or anything, it's just like, I think the puzzles are great pieces to survival horror games. I've never played Evil Within, though, so I don't know anything about that.
It was pretty cool. We won't go too far into it because, again, I haven't played it all the way through, but you're this detective, you come across this horrific scene in a hospital where everyone's pretty much dead. And then you get kind of sucked into this world. It's a little Silent Hill-ish.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. So it's a kind of it's more survival horror, I'd argue, than action.
Yeah.
Because ammo is limited, and monsters don't go down when you just shoot them. Like, you have to light them on fire. And so you have matches, and matches are a limited resource. But you have a lantern too, so you have to kind of keep a balance. So it's pretty good.
So it's kind of it's by the creators of Resident Evil, though, right?
I believe so.
So yeah, it makes sense why it would be.
You die a lot, by the way.
Oh, good.
A lot.
Yeah. It sucks every time, right?
Yeah, it's pretty gory every time too. So.
Okay, so.
But I like this next part you put here in the little like pseudo script that we attempt to follow, and I use that term loosely, by the way. Enemies will haunt the dreams even as a middle-aged man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
I'm not gonna argue that.
Nope.
Even though I love these types of games, yeah, they do scare the crap out of me every now and then. So does the movie, the horror movie industry, which we're not gonna talk about at all, because I could talk for hours about that crap. But yeah, stuff like that, it still haunts you, which is great.
Yeah.
It's great to see that concept because it should add that level of anxiety and fear into moving into said hallway or turning the corner or opening a door or, hey, what's in the box?
Yeah.
Don't open the box.
Yeah.
The box is dangerous.
Yeah.
Box is not safe. No, the box is never safe.
Yeah. I mean, like, even when I played the RE games when I was younger, and to my imagination, the zombies could be real. I mean, they might be, but, like, as a kid, I'm like, it could happen at any time. Dark was fucking scary. My dreams...
Of course, some people still believe it will happen and not could. Well, I mean, I'm a little bit more inclined to say it could happen, but...
It could.
Not will.
It's a very, very small % chance, if anything. It would have to be certain scenarios. But anyways, that aside, it scared me as a kid because it's a real possibility. And it still haunted me in the dark until I was much older. And it's fucking creepy. Action horror never did anything like that. It's because I always had the means to deal with it. I'm like, oh, you just shoot him a bunch. Okay, no problem. And then it's like survival horror. It's like, this is actually more real. Like, I would probably, if I found a gun, it would probably be limited ammo because not everyone carries like 10 boxes, of 500 rounds on them, so they're not like some walking Gatling gun.
Unless you have the wonderful luck of living with some of my family members, which apparently stockpile ammo for the sake of it.
Okay.
But that's a different story.
So, I want to point out the only time a fanny pack is ever allowed is in survival horror games for extra inventory space.
Okay, that's clever. Is that what you're trying to bring up? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. That was good.
Yeah, that was
really good. I can see, yes, a fanny pack would be an appropriate satchel in that scenario.
It's the only time it's ever appropriate. It's just to get one more puzzle piece or one more clip of ammo.
What do you got in the fanny pack? 2 mags of 9mm?
Oh, thank God. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Wait, one's half empty. Who cares?
Yeah.
That's more than enough. I can beat the game with half a clip.
Oh. Which you think it's like no one ever carries a backpack or like, oh, I found a duffel bag. They have more. There's nothing like that in survival horror. Have you ever noticed that?
Well, so...
you basically screwed from the start.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, but no one really goes in with a backpack. Or the backpack is, like, the size of, like, a box of cereal for some reason. You can put, like, 2 things in it, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though, because, like, in action horror, which we'll jump into that next, because this is kind of a good reference with inventory spot, I know that, like, Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 all did, like, a limited inventory system. But in 4... you could upgrade your attaché case that you carry, and I'm using air quotes here because I never see Leon carry that fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's just there. It's like it follows him like a dog or something, but it's invisible.
Chester.
Yeah. Ooh. Good reference to Don't Starve. But yeah, so like, and in 5, you had combat rigging on you, so whatever you could attach to it took up an inventory slot.
Yeah.
So that was kind of useful because it's like, yeah, you would have an ammo bag attached to you. You would have a hook to hold a shotgun. You would have a holster to put a pistol. You might have like one pouch for like a healing spray.
Yeah.
So it was good kind of use of the resource. However, that could be argued as slight survival as well. But most action games, you can carry fucking everything with you. I mean, Doom's a great example. Chainsaw, shotgun, pistol, machine gun, rocket launcher.
The BFG, which is larger, like almost half your body.
The BFG, which is like your size and my size, you know. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
At least they have the means of like teleportation and stuff at that future advanced, so you could say it just magically appears when you call for it. But then again, or like Borderlands, it just reappears.
It just manifests in front of you. Okay, I'll give you that.
Things like that. Although Borderlands, just inventory. That's not action horror at all.
Yeah. No. So back to action horror. Some examples that we like to use would be like Doom, Resident Evil 4, 5, 6, because those kind of shifted a little bit more towards action, which upset a lot of fans, and I can understand that. Like the first 4 was really good because it was a little bit of a hybrid.
Yeah.
5 was kind of pretty actiony, and 6 was, we don't talk about 6 because I was kind of embarrassed to play 6.
Yeah.
And then, like, a good action horror example that I like to use is Left 4 Dead.
Yeah. So, I have an example that's kind of it grew to a hybrid.
We're going to get to that if you want to wait.
No. But the thing is like the first one started out as survival, which had been Condemned 1. Okay. I don't know if you ever played that, but that game was pretty freaky when you first came.
I only watched Condemn. I never played it.
Yeah, nothing was really like it. And you had like limited wax with your freaking pipe you picked up, and you just picked up various objects. And then the second one became more of an action. So it's not necessarily a hybrid, but it seems like the series grew from survival to action because, I mean, you have a sequel, you probably played the first. But then again, it was kind of like weapons were thrown at you. You weren't really limited, and then it was still scary, but you could just whack the shit out of everything that came at you and pick up another item. So those are good examples, but how the change from one to the sequel changed actual subtypes, I guess.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because again, Resident Evil did that. Like you saw this like survival horror where you were just trying to survive. And that kind of goes back to the unkillable boss aspect with, like, Nemesis, like you were talking about. Yeah. So Nemesis you couldn't really kill, and I'm using air quotes because you could kill him with Game Genie hacks.
Yeah. I thought you could kill him if you shot him in the back a certain amount of times.
Well, you could kill him just with the right weapon and inventory. So, like, we would hack it, and, after playing through it, we'd hack it and start out with a rocket launcher. And just one blow to that, and he dies. Yeah. The cool thing is that each time as you kill him, he drops weapon parts to these pretty badass weapons. Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
So the game was developed where you could kill him, it just wasn't really advantageous to you to kill him, or almost impossible at times. But with like action horror, you can kill everything.
Yeah.
You're supposed to kill everything.
Or if not, a scenario set up later where you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you have weapons, you have ammo, you have healing resources, you have traps, things that you can use to kind of help you kill the spooky shit, weird, demonic, crappy things. Which is, they're fun. Like, Left 4 Dead was great because it was a good co-op game. And it could be spooky because playing on the harder difficulties, we played on like the highest tier.
Yeah.
And we couldn't play with 4 people because we'd always fuck it up. We always played with 3 and left the AI as 1 because we knew the AI would screw up and die.
Yeah.
Or be cannon fodder, pretty much. It's just like, I remember it was like, I think it was Bill in Left 4 Dead 1 who was the AI we always chose. And it's like, well, Bill, you're old, like, go explore what that is. You know, like, the guy with, like, one of my friends with a sniper rifle would shoot something, activate the horde, and Bill would just run in because we only gave him a shotgun and a pistol. Good luck.
Yeah. See you, buddy.
And we'd always request his med kit and take it away from him and things like that. And yeah, so Bill... Poor Bill.
You guys are monsters.
Yes, we are.
You're worse than the creatures trying to eat you.
Just slightly.
Yeah, slightly, yeah. But then that game, actually, Left 4 Dead's a good example because, like, I don't remember what they're called, but the exploding boomers and
the boomers were bad. The hunters were spooky. The spitters were too, but the spitters did exist. The lickers sucked.
Yeah.
I died to so many lickers because my friends couldn't find me, or, like, I explored by accident on my own and no one helped me out.
Yeah. So it's like... The game does scare you, but I mean, usually you have the means, or like you can escape, or something.
You could escape. Yeah, you could get out. You could survive, and because it was usually teamwork at that point. The witches, though, is what I want to talk about with Left 4 Dead.
Which I don't remember the witches.
The witches, you usually could leave them alone, but you would hear this just kind of this crying, moaning kind of thing in the background, and it's like, fuck, it's a witch.
Yeah,
and like. So you would always turn off your flashlight. You always try to sneak around her because she was stupid fast and stupid strong.
Yeah.
And if you got close enough to her, she would come out of her mourning period or cycle or coding, if you will, and produce just these claws that were like, it had to be at least be like a foot long for each finger on her hand. And she would just do this blood-curdling scream and just lunge towards the nearest one of you. And it's like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, but you could still kill her.
Yeah.
Just a lot of ammo and a lot of effort. There was a way to where if, and I figured out how to do this near the end, you could do what's called crowning a witch, and you take a shotgun and you sneak up to the back of her, and you get her to pop up, and if you hit it at the right second, you can one-shot her in the head. Perfectly.
Huh.
But it requires a lot of skill and effort. I died many a time trying to do that. But the witches were kind of a good example of how an action game could still be scary because those witches were spooky.
Yeah. A good example is Dying Light. I don't know if you've ever played that one. Was
that the parkour one where okay.
Yeah. That one, like, when you first start out, at least, it was fucking creepy. You do not get caught out at night, otherwise you just like hide and cower because you didn't have the means to. I mean, you get assault rifles and stuff, but they're not
as useful.
I mean, they are, but durability. But you get swarmed so easily, and at night they're like superhuman, you know. So like at nighttime you tread very fucking carefully, or you have a lot of distracting tools like flares and stuff. Mm-hmm. But that game was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, you know, I have a gun, but I'm going to shoot, I'm going to run, you know. It's like, I don't want to waste my ammo. It was very action horror, but it's still freaking scary.
Which is a good balance of that.
Yeah. And I loved it, but when it came to nighttime, I'm like, I don't want to do this mission at night.
Yeah, screw this, I'm going home.
Like, I'm just going to go sit and do my inventory until until the sun pops up. I don't care if these people are dying of sickness kind of deal. So, one thing I do want to point out, just like the last one, but enemies lose their scariness really quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas, we said that they will haunt your dreams forever. The enemies never lose their scariness in survival horror because you're still limited ammo. It still takes resources. There's still something to get in your way, and that can kill you very easily due to your limited health. Whereas action games, they might be scary at first.
But once you learn that pattern.
Yeah, once you learn that pattern or get like the means to just torch the shit out of them or the tools to distract them and get by them, they lose their scariness. Kind of like Dying Light. It is scary, but once you get to like the next section, you just kind of toss like a flare or something, they get distracted, or you just like Molotov them, things like that. And it's like, yeah, you can probably lose their attention. I mean, the game does do good like halfway through changing the environment to very close quarters. It becomes scary for a little bit, but then again loses itself quickly.
Mm-hmm. Once you get comfortable with it,
yeah,
it kind of goes that direction. And, most action horror games are kind of designed to be kind of like fast-paced and splatterfesty and kind of gory in one form or another, which isn't a bad thing. Again, they're fun. But like we were talking about, not a lot of backstory, Not a lot of story drivenness. I mean, you have like a main goal, but that's about it.
Yeah.
You know, and minimal puzzles, like more maybe a puzzle on the lines of like, hey, hit this button and wait for the elevator to show up.
Yeah.
And good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not very story driven. If it is, it's handed to you pretty easily. You don't need a lot of backstory, but they do give you some usually right away.
Mm-hmm.
But that leads us to hybrid horror,
which is cool.
Which I like. And there is a balance between the two. And
it's a fine line.
Like you were noting, it's very slim. But before I forget my example, the Devil May Cry, the first one, is a good one because you get stuck in a situation, you're like, oh shit, and it's freaky at first. Like the first playthrough, you're like, oh fuck, okay, you know. And then there's puzzles and things like that. Although it's very actiony where you have the means to deal with everything, but sometimes when you're like going and dealing with a puzzle and then fucking those little creepy mannequin.
Oh, marionettes.
Yeah, come out behind you and you're like, oh shit, you know. So that kind of has. It's kind of a horror-ish in a sense, but it's more of an action game. But
I would argue Devil May Cry would fall under the aspect of a hack and slash horror game.
Yeah,
where there can be spooky concepts, and Devil May Cry in the series itself has a reputation of being difficult because it is. I played all of them. Yeah. It's fucking difficult, except 2, and we don't talk about 2. They're hard games, and so there is that fear that goes into that.
Yeah,
because it's limited weapon sources. You get hit, and you get hit hard, and things take a lot of hits to die.
But, I mean, the first one particularly had a more, I would say, darker theme. I mean, probably because sequels are ruined by its prequels, because you know what to expect. Usually the people playing number 3 have probably also played 1 or 2 or both, you know. So
I said we don't talk about 2.
Well, I know, but mathematically there's a 2.
No, there's no 2.
Okay. Just like elevators and hotels, superstitions.
No 4.
Yeah. So
or 13.
Or 13. So it's like it's the first one was really dark theme. So I mean it kind of had more horror compared to the later series, but I just thought that was a interesting hybrid example.
Yeah, that's a good hybrid example. Like other ones that I threw up in here that kind of help would be like Dead Space 1 and 2. 3 was not a great example of that, but Dead Space 1 and 2, like, it was survival horror, but you had the means to succeed. You had not a ton of it, but you had weapons, you had ammo, you could upgrade your gear, you could survive.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. Resident Evil 4 kind of falls a little bit in that hybrid section because it was the beginning of the action aspect of Resident Evil, but at the same time still had that survival horror kind of feel and lingeringness to it, and it definitely had that kind of spookiness because you didn't really know what was going on in the beginning.
Yeah.
And things were explained to you very slowly, if at all. And then another one I forgot about is Last of Us, which I've never played.
I've
wanted to, and I hear it's a beautifully, wonderful, spooky, depressing, what have you kind of game. But I think it would fall into that hybrid because I know that there is action scenes to go with it, and I know there's a lot of survival parts where you have nothing to you.
Well, the part that makes it hybrid is, I'd say, when you end up encountering humans, because those become more of the action scenes because they're not scary. You deal with humans on a daily basis. Maybe not in the same means as killing them, but like you come across humans that are trying to kill you and take your resources or...
humans become the new enemy, if you will, even though it's your own kind and you shouldn't be scared of them.
Yeah.
Kind of like how The Walking Dead kind of portrays that, where like the zombies are more of an obstacle. It's actually the interactions, encounterings with the fellow humans that are pushing that same scenario you are to see how they behave.
Yeah. I mean, the creatures that were humans, I mean, are freaky in Last of Us. I've seen them. I've never played the game, but like I think...
the clickers? Yeah, clickers are spooky.
Those are like... So those are the scary part of the game, but what brings it to more of the action... from the survival is like those human encounters, because those just become kind of like a just action scene. Just get through it, and you know it's not really, there's no scariness when you're fighting humans, I don't think. I'm so used to it in video games.
More psychological at this point, I would argue, so than actual scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, hybrid horror is something that when it's done right, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It gets wonderful praises. It's an awesome game. It's a wonderful experience. I'm using wonderful a lot for some reason. I think I need more beer.
Wonderful.
It's wonderful. I'm sorry. But when it's done poorly, it shifts into one of those two subcategories pretty quick.
Yeah.
Or it's met with a lot of harshness.
Yeah.
From the fans in the community. So yeah.
I wish there was more horror games
that were hybrid.
Well, no, just in general.
Oh yeah.
It's because I wish I had more examples. I mean, like.
There's tons of them out there. I just used a couple.
Psychological, actually, Amnesia, I would say, follows into that because you don't have you don't have the means to deal with anything. You're not. It's just, oh shit, purple jellies coming out of the walls. Run for your life! It hurts so bad. You know.
Well, and it could be argued like some of the survival horrors we talked about too, like Outlast, for example. I don't really know if there's any weapons in Outlast. I haven't played it. You guys can tell us, or if not, of course.
That's true. That one might fall into psychological as well.
And I know Alien Isolation, you have equipment, but not all of it's useful or helpful.
Yeah. Some
would argue. Like, you could probably beat the game without using anything aside from your wits and a bladder of steel.
Yeah. Yeah, so that one falls into survival, as in you're trying to fucking survive.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, no, that's true. I didn't think about Outlast and Amnesia at first. But, I mean, the thing is there's 3 categories, basically, but a lot of them bridge each other.
Well, they're supposed to.
Except survival and action, there are hybrids, but it is very slim because due to the mechanics built into the game.
Right.
Whereas psychological could be heavy in either one of them to make it scary, although psychological scariness is done wrong a lot of times.
Well, in psychological horror, if you will, like it should be, I would argue, like somewhat of a foundation for all those games, because why else would we play a game like this if it wasn't scary in one form or another?
Yeah.
Or if it wasn't meant to invoke a fear aspect in people. So I could get that. And then which direction you go from there, survival, action, hybrid, is kind of up to the developer at that point, which, you know, and then it's up to them to meet that expectation.
Yeah.
And not try to falsely perceive it as something else, or, you know, kind of get lazy halfway through.
Yeah, one of the things that drives me crazy is when, like, there's an original idea for the game and then they just try to make it feel this way when it's not. It's like you have the mechanics in place. You can't make it a survival horror if it's an action. Don't, you know, just make what it is better instead of trying to make it what it's not. But that fails a lot with a lot of, I'd say, newer, a lot of horror games.
Yeah.
Just
sadly.
Either they try to add too much action to a survival horror or too much jump scare psychological stuff to action horror games.
So that kind of falls into our kind of like personal thoughts on it. I know you and I were in agreement on this, on like the concept of like a jump scare. A jump scare is something that was developed about, I'd argue, like 15 years ago. Really, really popular in Hollywood and popping into video games where something just like pops out and gets you.
Yeah.
Like that. Sorry for your ears.
It wasn't invented, but it was mainstreamed.
Right.
I would say.
Sorry.
That's probably better because like some of the, you know, fanatics out there be like, you're wrong.
Of course I'm wrong.
But very mainstream and heavily used since then. Like, it's in everything, and I don't like watching scary movies, not because I'm afraid of them, but just 'cause they don't look interesting. It's like, oh, well, look, someone's going to jump out and scare me. Oh, shit, yeah, I was right. It's like, yeah, it might, like, make you jump, but it's like, okay, yeah, I'm jumping, but it really has no emotion, only because
something jumped out at me, which is a natural reaction to flinch.
Exactly. So it's way overused. Like, you were saying that it should be limited to, like, maybe 2
or 3 at most.
Yeah. Times in a movie, which I 100% agree.
And in a game, I think depending on the hours of completion that's expected, you should rationalize the jump scares to that.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you need that jump scare to kind of set the tone or the mood or change the scenario really quick, and that's justified. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But, like, if I go, like, let's say Dead Space had a couple of jump scares that were actually pretty well done. Like, I'm going around a corner. I know there's something there. I heard this kind of, and then, like, a bottle roll off.
I hate the bottle rolls.
Oh, yeah. And, like, you know, shatter somewhere, of course, too. And so it's like, okay, crap. I know there's something around that corner, so weapon out, kind of slowly moving along. Don't really want to, but don't have a choice because it's either move around the corner or die of starvation, which the game won't let me do, so I'm kind of limited in my options here.
Yeah.
I turn the corner and nothing. Okay, cool. Scared me. good anticipation. I feel a little bit safer now, like, so, okay, cool, like, weapon down, just kind of walking around, okay, I know the door's right there where I need to go to, and then all of a sudden, boom, air vent.
Yeah.
And it's like, ah.
Or you've gone to a place you've already explored, damn, there's something there all of a sudden. It's like, how the fuck did you get there?
Right. So that's a good example of, like, a jump scare, because it threw me off my original point. Or in the beginning, it set the tone for what was going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want a jump scare, and then 10 minutes later, another one. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm sorry. Like, if anything, have me open the door and see 3 of these things. And it's like, oh,
that
crap.
Would be, yeah, that'd be scary. Like
that's not good, but it didn't scare me. It scared me from a different type of fear. Yeah. It's not the, I need to excuse myself real quick because I need a new pair of underwear, versus the, crap, this is going to suck.
Yeah. This is going to be super hard. Like, I forgot we didn't talk about the different types of fear, but, I mean, I don't know how to categorize that, but that's a good point. There are different types of fear. I haven't played Dead Space, but it's kind of like fear of the game.
You really should. Don't play the third one, but the first 2 are... Well, maybe play the third one for the story, but that's about it.
I own the first 2.
You should play them.
I got them free, I think, a Humble Bundle or Steam.
You really need to play.
Yeah, but it's like fear, though. It's like, I don't remember many jump scares, and at least the first one. It's the only one I played. But, like, you go down a hallway, and you're like, oh, I know something's going to happen. And then it's like, actually, something creepy happens. Like, totally creepy. Like, this little girl or woman black monster creature comes out of the ground and starts slowly coming towards you, and you're like, I'm not moving right, the mechanics are weird. All of a sudden you're like, I'm trying to back away, and it's like getting closer, and it's like blah, 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 all of a sudden you're like,
oh crap, oh crap, oh crap,
yeah,
oh crap.
And it's like, and it does that little light flicker where it's like flashing closer, so it's not a jump scare.
Yeah, you know it's coming.
You know it's coming,
but it's coming,
and then it pops in your face, and you're like, mother of piss Lord, goddamn.
Which is where I imagine, like, VR would be really fun with a scary game.
Oh, God. They've tried it, and I can't wait till, like, a full, well-done AAA, or just, like, even an indie company that actually does it well. But the problem with VR currently, though, is it seems all like Marketplace, like the App Store on your phone. It's just so saturated with just quick
VR stuff
thrown out there. It's like...
I mean, I heard Resident Evil 7 does have a VR setting for PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
I'm not that rich. I can't afford all that. But I hear it's actually a lot of fun to play the game in VR. So
yeah, actually, I forgot Subnautica, what I just bought. It's an early access stranded survival game. You don't have the means to shoot or anything. I think you get like a torpedo submarine later, but you go to certain depths and these freaking creature, like giant leviathan ass things, are way bigger than you or your sub. Come out of nowhere because you have only certain visibility in the ocean. If you've ever been in the ocean, you know that there's limited visibility. So I mean, it's kind of realistic, but they come out of fucking nowhere, and you hear them screech. All of a sudden, you're like, I'm just gonna hide in this little coral reef until I look around a dozen times. It's not meant to be horror, but it does freak you when you can't see what's coming. So there is horror outside of just specific horror games, which I don't think we brought up before.
We'll have to make that another topic, probably.
Yeah, but I don't know why that popped in my head. That creeped me out because I've been playing that a lot lately. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere near that fucking giant thing.
Come
ever
on,
again.
it just wants to hug you,
Yeah,
like the thing behind you right
with
now.
Its mandibles, like fucking. Yeah, no, it scared the shit out of me. I was not expecting it.
All right. Well, we're running a little long here, so let's just jump into question of the cast, and then we'll wrap things up because you guys have been pretty patient listening to us ramble.
Yeah, we always ramble.
Oh yeah.
That's.
So question of the podcast, what is your favorite type of horror game? Survival, action, hybrid? Tell us in the comments. Tell us we're wrong in the comments on things because we're always wrong.
What do you like? How would you describe it? Examples? Short and sweet, long, don't matter.
Give us a scary game to play because I'm totally down.
Yeah. We're going to do Resident Evil 7. I'm going to make Scott buy it and then play it because I don't want to. I mean, I would play it because it's not as scary as some of like Amnesia.
I'm going to have like 2 playthroughs at this point. One for my own satisfaction, one to watch you crap your pants.
Yeah. Or we could just do it all one night. Just like 13 hours. Just.
Ugh. Maybe.
On. Don't be old.
My hands can't handle that.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so let us know your thoughts, feelings. But that's it. That's our opinion on horror games. So let us know what you think. But anyways, thanks for joining the Flickering Torch podcast. This is Smithus.
And Mr. Dead Scott.
And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Ciao, Bane.